the ocean, the behaviors that we're imposing on our own people who are here, is setting us up to get fucked. Okay? People forget about cyber attacks. People forget about sleeper cells. People forget about you cause a extreme amount of trauma on people. Their reactions may not be safe. You know, people forget that there was, homegrown terrorism right here.
You.
So,
wow.
That's me.
Wow.
I'm 84.
Hold on a second. I just wanted to acknowledge that was like the best take of this whole situation. And I want to thank you. I mean, the only reservation I had was the thinking that one less nuclear program is good. But now that you say that, it's the real question is at what cost? And everything you said was like right on. And I just want to acknowledge that. That was great. This is the one time I wish we had replays because you really made it clear. So thanks. Thank you, Empress Ronnie. We love you. Dr. Francine, your turn.
I just want to co-sign Empress Ronnie because I've been being 84. I've been around for these wars, and nobody wins. There is nobody ever wins a war. Maybe World War II, but I don't remember. I mean, I know they say we won, but I'm not sure what happened. I think it cost us a whole shitload of money. But the point is everything she said. And Empress Ronnie said. She was totally right. We don't have the money for this war. We don't have the inclination for this war. And we won't win this war because we've never won anything that I remember.
Yeah, look, they talked about, I think they said there were 7 of those huge bombs. And I don't know, those bombs are like, I'm sure they're like $500 million a piece or something fucking crazy. And I'm sure just that military operation probably costs as much as half of an annual budget of USAID. That could have like saved people instead of killing people. And it's just criminal what they're doing. Anyway, let's get some other thoughts as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Which is, as we listen to the early statements out of the military, it also does seem that the level of destruction has been somewhat seriously overstated by the president and other members of the regime. The military are much more circumspect in their description of exactly what was accomplished, just in terms of physical destruction, which doesn't even have anything to do with, the brain power, which obviously hasn't been affected. But it doesn't seem like these places were quote unquote obliterated, as has been stated by the politicians.
Yep. Absolutely. Go ahead. Francine, did you want to add? Your mic is off. No. Anyway, let's, Rick, did you have any thoughts about the beginning of World War III?
Well, I'm not going to call it the beginning of World War II.
Okay, good.
I will call it potentially, we simply don't know. I've been hearing since I think 2001, maybe 2004, that Iran was, 2 weeks out or 2 months out from having a bomb.
Right.
Tulsi Gabbard said, no way, that's wrong information. Trump said she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's the director of national intelligence. Hegseth said we could totally obliterated them. Trump did too. But Vance said we slowed down the program. And then there was a guy standing next to Hegseth at the very same press conference that said, too soon to know how much damage was done. So, who do we believe here? You know, it's, these are all people that Trump appointed, but do they have any power? So, if all of a sudden the Ayatollah says, okay, enough, let's negotiate, and there is a negotiation, and they come up with a treaty, I will say, hey, this actually worked. Will that actually happen? Knowing our history, I don't think so. And knowing the history of the people involved, I don't think so. These are not back down, let's negotiate people. They're people that say, I tried to negotiate, it didn't work, boom, let's react. I heard a really interesting statement by an Iranian who doesn't live there, doesn't support the regime. He said, the problem that I see is America never remembers and the Mideast never forgets. Does not have any patience. The Mideast has a lot of patience. And I think that's fairly accurate in a lot of ways. We react instead of planning a strategy. We don't remember consequences. Even going back to our, I keep hearing the same thing over and over. Why don't the Iranian people rebel? Well, look at our own Revolutionary War. We could not have won that without the equivalent of billions of dollars from the French, who had a common enemy with the British, and they had boots on the ground. Are we giving the Iranian opposition weapons and money covertly? I don't know. I really have not heard anything about it. And if it's covertly, I probably wouldn't. But every time, we never remember. Every time we have actually tried to change a regime instead of helping a regime, the people change it themselves. I can't remember a time when it's been successful. And when I think about it in a personal way, if I were in that place, if California were in that place, and somebody came after California, there is a little bit of California defense that I would stand up for. And I think most states would do that. So I think it's really dangerous. And, so I think Empress mentioned cyber attacks, mentioned, hidden cells, or, and not to mention just the crazy lone person who thinks, I'm going to fix this by doing this, by bombing a synagogue, by bombing a mosque, by bombing, church, taking out a bunch of people, by shooting a bunch of politicians. There's so many of those people out there. And, I don't know, I am not confident in our leadership. Let me just put it that way. Yeah. In a situation that is as complex as this one, that really takes looking at every possible scenario. We're considering, arresting Latinos. It's like, do you think about, preparing and getting people ready? But anyway, that's it.
Yeah. No, thanks, Rick. That was pretty comprehensive. Yeah, look, you can't get away from the idea that although this in itself is a huge thing, it's also a distraction from the stormtroopers that are that are abusing American citizens and families and taking away babies, which is like that's just going to continue going on. And you know what? As soon as we get exhausted with one thing, he brings something else up. Anyway, let's go down through the through our friends here, where we got a full house. So I want to make sure everybody gets something. So let's go to David, and then Denise and Andrew, and then I'm going to go back up to Ellen, David, and then back down to Sussy and Scott. So
I can move down if we need more room.
either way, it's always good to see you either way. Everybody's running. David, why don't you go ahead, give us the your thoughts as to what's going on.
Yeah.
David Garcia. Yeah.
Well, I just, a lot of good things have already been said. I think there's a confusion with regard to the administration. We got a president who doesn't want to rely on professional intelligence. Gabbard supposedly oversees 18 agencies tasked with giving her the appropriate information so that she can then inform the president. Donald Trump doesn't want to listen to the experts. Recall that he stood next to Putin and agreed that Putin did not interfere in the election in 2016, which was opposite to what his intelligence folks had told him, siding with Putin. So, I don't know that, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't understand necessarily what the enemy's thinking. Talking about our history as a nation, I had it brought out in a great discussion of this. We were in day 6 of negotiations with the Iranians when Israel decided to go in and attack and kill and try to decapitate as much of their nuclear heads and their scientists and their leadership. Under the guise of discussions, well, we did the very same thing with regard to the Native Americans, the indigenous nations on occasion. We brought the chiefs into negotiations. Meanwhile, we went and attacked their tribes at the same time. So our history of negotiating, honestly, be good faith actors is on the chopping block here. What nations are going to say, hey, we can negotiate with the Americans in good faith and not have similar acts of aggression take place? And then we saw Trump want to jump on the bandwagon of the military success that Israel did exact, the Iranian campaign, which many have argued was masterful. They say it took 10 years for us to get bin Laden. I was talk about American safety, talk about the blowback of military campaigns. I was in the Far East when bin Laden was killed. The SS Ronald Reagan was off the coast of Phuket, and the boys were doing their R&R. But what was different about this was they had pods of military police protecting the quadrants of the city, of the beachside city. And I went up to, say hello and thank you for your service. And I got a big Heisman by this big sergeant that was not at all in any position to talk to an American, given the circumstances of how serious what we just did was. And there's a sizable Muslim population in Southeast Asia. And so, yeah, there's now travel warnings all over the place. Americans have to be careful. Well, how am I going to be careful? How am I going to protect myself from a crazy person trying to enjoy vacation with my family or visiting friends? doing business. So these are unintended consequences of what we're attempting to do here. And then I just read some news that just came out, Ben, and that we may not have fully disabled this operation.
That's true.
The satellite imagery is inconclusive.
Yeah, I know.
So that's disconcerting. Meanwhile, back here, I read a horrible article about a man that bears my namesake, who was an American Latino citizen, brought into ICE detention because he was out protesting. And he stood and listened to these ICE guys talk about how good their day was. It was like a day of hunting or fishing. How many bodies did you get today? Referring, these aren't people, humans. These are bodies. These are body counts. And the guy was disgusted by what he saw and how they view. And they don't. And then another thing I talked to another guy. I talk to Latinos all the time in Los Angeles. I hear them speak Spanish. They speak English. I have a discussion. I talked to a guy from Venice, and he says, "So my family's been here for 3 generations." He goes, "My lawyer told me do not carry your live passport or birth certificate or green card because ICE will just tear it up. They'll tear it up right on the spot." He says you keep it in a safe, you keep it at home, and then you have your relative bring it when they come to spring you. Yeah. I go, wow. He goes, that acting is absolutely, they don't leave anything to chance. So, anyway, those are my thoughts this morning.
Wow. That's, you're leaving us with a scary thought.
I hate to.
Yeah, no, it's important. Look, the whole thing with ICE and the people who are doing this. I mean, it's one thing about the National Guard and the Marines. Those are people who have no choice. They're told that they're supposed to be there, and it's not what they signed up for. But the ICE guys, different story. They are doing this voluntarily. They don't have to be there. As a matter of fact, I would imagine that a lot of the original ICE people, I'm sure, have already left. And I know that all the leadership left because they're now being asked to do something very different. It's my understanding the people who are signing up are the Proud Boys, the January 6th felons, the Oath Keepers, the militias. It's like the ICE will be self-selecting to be the worst of the worst. They literally will be, if they not already are, a gang of lawless white supremacists. Okay. It's like, just think about who would in their right mind take the job to do what they're doing, let alone, like you said, David, that they're like reveling in that, in their job. These are horrible people. It's I don't know. Let's continue on.
Oh, can I
go ahead.
interject for just a brief moment? Can you open up a room later to discuss the live stream of this room?
Oh shit! Is that going on right now?
Right now.
All right.
Check it in.
All right, let me check it in. And is it from the anonymous guy? Do you think?
Probably.
All right, but Rob, you know what? First of all, thanks for pointing it out. And for the anonymous guy, we will find you. We will get you. But I don't know what to do with this fucking shit. Anyway, look, I'm gonna have to start closing this up and making it a private room. Let me get.
He seems to go away if you just turn replays off.
Well, I do. I don't have replays on. I never have replays on.
Yeah, I just heard you guys, talking live on his live stream. So.
Fuck. What a fucking asshole. I don't know. I'm gonna we need to talk to Joe because these guys need to be kicked out of Clubhouse. Period. What an asshole. All right, and what I'm doing is if I don't know you, I'm going to kick you out of the room anyway. So, but I'm pretty sure it's this asshole who's at the bottom. Fuck you. All right. I don't know. Let's continue. There's nothing we can do except continue on. And I am certainly not afraid of what I'm talking about here. I believe everything I'm saying. So I don't know. Where was I? I think Denise. Let's go to Denise and then Andrew and then Updale and David Jacobson.
Now we're live. We're international, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Today I'm just thinking about trust and truth and how ill-equipped we are on both fronts. How the quality of our information is so poor. How difficult it is to suss through like what's accurate and what isn't, and then not having a foundation of even the most basic modicum of trust in our leadership. It's just a terrible spot to be in. It's just a terrible spot to be in. And so everybody's just trying to figure out like how to navigate this season and how to manage the moving parts. And it feels like it's just completely not manageable because we are, in this season that is truly post-truth. The vast majority of us, and I'll include myself, are not educated enough on the moving parts in the history of these conflicts to be able to really thoughtfully suss them out. And then as you try to investigate, I feel so incredibly propagandized that it's really difficult to even process what the right way is forward. So, there's been a lot of concern or challenge to how much lying has been done by Trump and by this administration, and we know intellectually like the price of it, but I really feel the price of it today. I don't know how you run a country, how we have a country where nobody trusts anybody, and we really don't have the ability to have intellectual, substantive conversations about almost anything because of the just low quality of information we have available to us. So that's what my Monday is, trust and truth. How are we gonna figure out both of those things?
Yeah. Thanks, Denise. Well thought out as usual. Appreciate it. Andrew Cuddy. Go for it.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Oh. We're not hearing you. I think your mic's off. Andrew, your mic's off. Uh-oh. All right. I guess I'll get him next. He's going out, coming back in, I think. Because sometimes it's me, but I don't think it is. All right, here comes Ben Juan. All right, let's go to Andrea and then Al, and then we'll go back to Andrew when he gets back. Andrea, are you home? Andrea, or is it me?
Can you hear me? This is
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm doing first time on a laptop actually, so
Yeah.
I just hope everyone is. Oh, Denise, I'm sorry. I feel you, and everyone. I don't know. Perusing came in. I hope that people are safe and guarding and have checked in with friends and family and guarding your mental health in whatever way possible. And I have lots of thoughts. I'm going to remain on the hopeful side. I think that I am this morning resentful of the heightened alert that we are all on, and the mixed results or the lack of clarity around the success of the strike in terms of making America and the world and the world, I say, safer. So I'm concerned also about the path forward. But I'm going to lean into what I think the pathways forward are out of this. For me, which is a strong community, taking the actions that we can, looking to build greater coalitions, maybe AI, mis and disinformation tools at the same time. Maybe we should harness that technology. I'm going to call Congress again and push back on the bill and or float ideas to make it less impactful. And I am going to hold out optimism and hope that the 2026 midterms will deliver a change and at least be able to help put some brakes on the worst impacts. But and I have another thing to share, which is I think everyone should check out Naomi Klein's new book or collaboration with a woman out of the UK in The Guardian for some insights on, but it's not an uplifting take, so I don't recommend doing it on the day that you are not feeling, strong. So take a breath and look at it at another time to further understanding. I think that there's enough people that are going to be disgruntled about what's happened, or angry, or outraged, or feel betrayed, that we will be able to have a turning point to a better way forward than we feel that we're in today. And I believe that in general with the path that we're on. And I think it is very linked to Francine's always telling me she doesn't want to hear any more about climate. Okay, we can call it food, we can call it extreme weather. We're all hunkering down in New York City, hoping that the grid doesn't go out. We don't end up in record temperatures again across the East Coast and probably soon on the West Coast. So anyway, there's a lot of action to take. There are people and movements that are working on a more upbeat front, to just mobilizing people, reminding people to vote, getting investors involved. And I believe, there's only a few seats to flip the House, and I believe we can do it. We can't give up. And I don't want to believe the narrative. I think there are many things to improve in the country, but I'm not giving up yet. So that's where I'm landing today. I think we should start to talk about the elections. Tomorrow is the New York City mayoral election. It'll be very outcome to see. It's a Democratic primary, so that would be an interesting thing to talk about tomorrow. But I believe that community, connection, and coalitions, the 3 C's, moving forward are critical. So that's my share for now.
All right, thanks, Andrea. You know what? I wanted to go down to
Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you now. Go for it, Andrew.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we had a celebration on the weekend here. It was a surprise party only to one, because he's only 1 year old. So everybody else knew. So that was lots of fun. I think he had a great time, not knowing what's going on. But he's really, this is my grandson, he's a really easygoing kid. He just goes with the flow. I mean, there was a lot of people there, there's a lot of noise, but didn't impact him at all. He just, carries on.
This is grandson or granddaughter number what? How many grandchildren do you have? Uno, so this is your first. Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, he's 1 year old on Wednesday, I think, but we celebrated on Saturday, so that was lots of fun. As far as what's happened on the weekend, well, Mark Carney's in Europe today. He's meeting with much of the NATO members, talking about defense, etc. Of course, they want to raise that ceiling to 5%. We've had a ceiling of 2%, which we've never reached in this country, ever. Which is, unfortunate that successive governments, liberal, conservative, haven't
made efforts towards that. So, but I guess he's had some fruitful meetings with the European Union in terms of contracts for weaponry, etc., and infrastructure. And of course, this is to bypass the United States, who we consider an unstable partner. I don't know why, but
Right.
Anyway, as regards the attack on the weekend, I thought Carney, calls for more negotiations. Yeah, well, actually he said, negotiate at the negotiating table. Well, that table's gone. It's gone. So I don't know where that's going to happen. And of course, it's a fine edge that we have to walk when the world has a Mr. Trump in it, because you can't really say what you want to say, which could potentially be, we disagree with this, it's dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. So they avoid that and just say, well, negotiate. And Canada has we invented peacekeeping, and so it's really kind of sad that we're not stepping forward here in a bigger way to insert ourselves into this in some way. Yeah. Anyway, it's fairly frustrating. I think really what concerns me the most is the reputation now that the United States has, because it has no legitimacy in terms of international law, because it just violated international law, whether you like it or not. It's international law. This order that that we have enjoyed since the end of World War II was ushered in by the United States, and this leadership has turned its back on it. And this is the result. I suppose to some extent it may have happened when you invaded Iraq with suspect intelligence. Yeah. So, and I mentioned in a room the other day, just if the shoe were on the other foot, all we have to do is go back to 1941, December 7th, and see how, your country reacted to that. This leadership says, oh, we're not at war. Well, maybe you're not, but, I think maybe if you asked the leadership of Iran, they may have a different feeling on that regard, that this is now war. And they'll fight it in any way that they can, using all the tools at their disposal, which we've seen in the past are very various and hard to comprehend. All it takes is one person with a car.
Ben, are you listening to the live stream?
I'm sorry. I just realized that you can hear that. I forgot my mic was
I was
on.
getting my own feedback there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Folks.
Anyway, thanks, Andrew. Sorry about that. I was just checking that out. Look, I don't know what to do with the live stream.